I really like rare cars. I've said it before, and I did a video recently on rare cars under £20,000. So let's half that price range and look at some rare cars you can buy for under £10,000 that will always turn heads just based on the fact that you rarely see them. If you want to see this video again at under £5,000 instead, do hit the like button, subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Let's kick this video off with a car that I used to walk past every day on my way to work, a proper Japanese K car, the Suzuki Cappuccino, which takes the formula of a car like the MX-5 and makes it even smaller and cuter. This little car comes with a 0.7 litre turbocharged inline-3 engine, which makes 63 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 9.6 seconds, pretty slow, but then again it's supposed to be bashed around tight city streets in Japan, so speed isn't really its main purpose. Suzuki used this car to try to re-establish or refresh themselves as a brand that can make sporty cars, and originally it was intended to be Japan only, hence it was built to K car specifications. This K car class in Japan basically offered lower tax and insurance, making it quite popular, but at the same time these cars are not practical for anything other than city A to B purposes, so there is a bit of a trade-off. As a result of that, K cars have a bit of a cult following here in the UK, and the Cappuccino definitely is a staple in this class. But Suzuki basically used these cheaper figures to market the car as a cheap route into sports car ownership for Japanese buyers. In 1991, Suzuki GB started a discussion with the parent company to try to get the car into the UK and Europe as well, and after 18 months of discussions and negotiations, Suzuki committed and made 23 mods to get the car compliant for our markets. And it was a great success off the bat, winning 2 awards the first time it was seen outside of Japan at the British International Motor Show in October 1992, Best Sports Car under 20k and Best Car of the Show. Unfortunately, only 1,182 were exported to the UK, not because sales were slow, but because of import quotas on Japanese products coming over here, and now there are just 176 of them registered out on the roads in the UK. These start at around £6,000, with 10k being enough for a 1994 model with around 90,000 miles on the clock. The gearbox is known to have weak synchros, brake calipers can cause problems at the rear, rust is known too, but in general, engines have been pretty reliable. Next we have a car that I have been a huge fan of for a while now, the Brabus Roadster, a modified version of the Smart Roadster by the famous Mercedes tuning house. It's small, boxy, wide, rear engine, rear-wheel drive, and a ton of fun to drive, if only it came with a manual gearbox rather than that janky autobox it was given from factory. It also has a 0.7 litre turbocharged inline-3 engine, making 101 brake horsepower, which will get it to 60 in 9.5 seconds, so I suppose this is Germany's answer to the Japanese K car class, in fact, probably smart as a brand is. It wasn't plain sailing for this car though, as just before the release of the original Smart City Coupe, some stability issues were found with it, as in it could tip over with hard turning, which went pretty viral. This could have killed the brand given it was their first ever car, and sales expectations dropped from 200k to 80k per year. But the brand pressed on, realising that the basis for the Smart City Coupe would make for a great small sports car, which is where the basis for this car came from. It actually had 3 design directors in the space of its development, so it's a bit of a mixture of opinions. Then when you add Brabus into the mix, they added a whole different opinion to it again. As a result of those problems for the initial Smart City Coupe, the gearboxes in these Roadsters have never been their best feature. It was dumbed down massively, which Brabus did try to dial back up a bit. But outside of that, these are properly sporty, great looking little cars, and with under 500 of them out on the roads here in the UK, plus the Brabus badging all around, they genuinely do turn the heads of fellow car people out on the roads. If you want one, you'll need to spend around £4,500 at the bottom end, and 10k will be enough for a 2005 model with 85,000 miles on it. It is generally a reliable car, but the rusting special Brabus wheels were a telltale sign of some of the bad build quality issues it had. Another expensive fix was also their leaking roofs. Everyone loves a Nissan Z car, and the 300ZX is a properly cool and rare car for the money, much rarer than cars like the 350Z for example. It came as both a long and short wheelbase option, with the long wheelbase being a 2+2 and the short wheelbase being just a 2-seater, which is typically more sought after between the two. Either way, you're getting a 3-litre V6 engine that makes 222 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 7.5 seconds. This was in fact the predecessor to the 350Z, and it came with a couple of chassis, but in this video we're focused on the later one, the Z32, which was less cheese gratery and more fluid with proper 1990s stylings. It actually originally arrived in 1989 and came with a twin turboed option as well. That twin turbo example was more interesting in other ways too though, like having adjustable suspension and 4-wheel steering, which is similar to that you'll find on the R31 Skyline. The most special example though was the SR71 Z32, which was named after the famous and ridiculously fast Blackbird spy plane, which is pretty apt, as the HKS tuning house that put these together made it the third fastest production car in the world for its time, when it cost a fraction of the amount of the two cars faster than it, the Ferrari F40 and Lamborghini Diablo. All this helped the car to be incredibly popular in the right markets, particularly in the US and Japan, and it marked the 1 millionth Z car sale in the US in 1990, but in the UK it's a very hard car to come by nowadays, given across all the different types there are fewer than 200 on the roads here right now. It did also have a bunch of aesthetic modifications each year of its life, as well as further technology changes like keyless entry all the way back in 1994, so worth taking a look at the year and spec list of the car you're after. They start at around £7,500 and 10k will be enough for a 2005 model with 85,000 miles on the clock. Interior quality is something to look for today, and there were known injector, squeaky brakes, leaking roof and VTC rattle issues. So do you think I can do this video again at under £5,000? If you do, then do hit the like button. Let's get it to 1,000 likes so I can make that video. Subscribe as well if you're new, and let me know in the comments down below which of these cars you would have. Taking second on this list is effectively a super saloon for its price range, the Alfa Romeo 156 GTA, the poor man's equivalent to the Giulia Quadrifoglio, but with much more of a classic status due to its age. This beautiful Busso engine Italian car comes with a 3.2 litre V6 to be exact, which puts out 250 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.1 seconds, not bad at all for its age. This was literally named after the stunning, iconic and classic Alfa Romeo GTA from the 1960s, which is pretty high praise, and when translated into English, GTA stands for Lightened Grand Tourer, which is effectively the idea behind this. It came as both a saloon and estate or sports wagon model, and just 1,973 saloons and 1,678 sport wagons were ever sold, meaning it was pretty rare from the jump, and right-hand drive models were even rarer than left-hand drive examples. That's why in the UK just 150 remain out on the roads, and for me, in the right spec, they are a proper heartthrob of a car. Outside of the interior, doors, boot lid and bonnet, everything on these cars was built uniquely for the GTA, including the engine, which was built by Fiat and Maserati research centres. It was also a water to silver design, the same man responsible for the first gen R8 and the concept Bugatti Veyron. Add on the large Brembo brakes and the more aggressive steering, and these are a proper driver's car to go out and enjoy. I honestly think this is my favourite car on the list. And yes, it's not a Giulia quad in any way, but something about a classic Alfa just hits different, as of course does a Busso V6, which sounds incredible. These are only around 7 grand at the bottom end, and they're super hard to find, so although they do come below 10k, you might have to be patient if you want one in the perfect spec for you. Fuel leaks and front suspension failures were known in the early years, and there were some recalls, and nowadays cam belt replacement should be expected relatively early compared to manufacturer suggested timelines. Radiator leaks were known, and try not to get a seller speed gearbox as they are hard to find replacement parts for. Taking the top spot is our third and final Japanese car on this list, but this one's a little bit more special as it's the actual JDM version of the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, which is quite an interesting sports car unlike most other Mitsubishis before or since. I say most because we can't forget the Starion or FTO, but the GTO is the JDM version of that 3000 GT, of which there are fewer than 150 on the roads here in the UK right now, and even fewer GTOs from what I can see. They'll come with a 3 litre twin turbocharged V6 engine that makes 282 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 5.5 seconds, although those are the stats that are listed for the UK 3000 GT models, when in reality the JDM examples had 300 or 320, depending on whether they were first or second generation models. This makes a lot of sense when you consider these were built to compete with cars like the Mazda RX-7, the Honda NSX and the Toyota Supra, all legends of the JDM game. It was even a competitor to the 300ZX we just spoke about, but this most aggressive example is more affordable within our price range when compared with a twin-turbo short wheelbase ZX, given they start at around 7k, with 10k getting you a nice import with around 50,000 miles on the clock. It came after Mitsubishi showed some concept cars in 1989, which brought about the first gen 3000 GT, before the second gen arrived in 1994 and the third took over in 1997. But whichever gen you get, I think it's one of the coolest tuner cars that you can buy for under 10k, like seriously proper sports car shape with real JDM imported background and all-wheel drive. For someone who can't afford an R34 GTR, this might be a reasonably priced alternative for now, which is also almost as rare here in the UK. As it's a Japanese car, however, do watch out for rust on them as well as potential turbo issues, but they have a decent aftermarket, so replacement parts shouldn't be too hard to find. And so there you have it, a bunch of very nice cars under £10,000 that are incredibly rare. If you want to see more videos like this, then do hit the like button, I would really appreciate it. Go check out this video on a bunch of rare cars under £20,000 instead, and subscribe as well while you're here. Massive thanks to the patrons for their support. To you guys for watching, I'll see you in the next one.